on Wednesday, April 15th. A quorum is present, and the Minnesota Senate Education Finance Committee will now come to order. Today we are going to have a walkthrough and hear testimony on the A4 delete all DE. We will then continue our conversation that we had to cut off yesterday with Senator Seeberger, Senate File 4677. And so let's start today with a walkthrough of the A4. Mr. Arneson and Ms. Lewis, would you please begin to walk through the bill and give us an overview of what we have here?
Madam Chair and members, Ms. Lewis and I will alternate articles as we proceed here. I'm going to start with Article 1, General Ed. And as I go through the bill, I'll just note for members that I'm going to be kind of working from the amendment text itself and referencing page numbers there. But if folks are curious, they can follow along also in the summary. And at the end of each section in the bill summary in square brackets, there's a note about where the provision originally came from, which bill and which author. Article 1, again, is General Ed. The first section relating to capital project levy referendum ballot procedures comes from Senate File 1310, Senator Swedzinski bill. Section 2 is a modification of a governor's recommendation relating to the governor's rec on disaggregating the basic skills revenue into its component parts, the English learner revenue and the compensatory aid. Section 2 continues to require that English learner revenue be maintained in a reserve account. Section 3 in concept comes from a bill from Senator Clark, Senate File 4368. The language in front of you is modified from that original Clark bill. The language in front of you calculates for each school district, charter school, and cooperative unit a fiscal 27 compensatory aid amount that is a function of that LEA's aid amount in fiscal 26. And the so-called hold harmless is calculated under this language as a hold harmless for the entire district revenue rather than the site revenue as originally proposed by Senator Clark. Section 4 comes from a Senator Clark bill, Senate File 4414. The new language is in the bottom of page 5 and authorizes school districts to use operating capital revenue to pay utility service costs. On page 6, section 5 is a governor's recommendation, again related to kind of untangling the basic skills revenue into its component parts, compensatory revenue and English learner revenue. This language is as the governor proposed, except that in the chair's rec, we strike out some obsolete language in paragraph B, but that's purely a technical change. On page 8, section 6 comes from, again, the Clark bill on compensatory aid, Senate File 4368. The amendment in paragraph F is as originally proposed by Senator Clark. The new paragraph G on page 9 provides that the increase to the district's compensatory revenue under section 3 of this DE, that increment of increase may be allocated by the district according to a plan adopted by the school board. Section 7 is another section from Senator Swedzinski's Senate File 1310 and modifies the ballot language requirements for school district operating referendum elections. Section 8 is the final section from Senate File 1310 from Senator Swedzinski, and again modifies. It's kind of a conforming change to the previous section relating to the ballot language requirements for school district operating referenda. Section 9 that begins on the bottom of page 11, but the language change is at line 12.23, is a governor's recommendation extending the availability of the one-time appropriation for the attendance pilot program. Beginning on the bottom of page 12, section 10 is a combination of a few different bills. Subdivision 1 comes from a Senator Weber bill, Senate File 4344, authorizing a fund transfer for Ivanhoe Public Schools. Subdivision 2 comes from the Senator Kupek bill, Senate File 5025. And just a note for members that the language in the DE is identical to the language of that bill as introduced. Members may recall that in committee earlier this week, the committee adopted an amendment to that provision, so that provision would be fixed up to be consistent with the amended version of the underlying bill. And finally, subdivision 3 comes from a Senator Pappas bill, Senate File 4038, authorizing a fund transfer for West St. Paul, Mendota Heights, Egan schools. And finally, the last section in Article 1 is the appropriation for additional general education aid attributable to the modifications to fiscal year 2027 compensatory aid. And Madam Chair, that concludes Article 1.
Thank you, Mr. Arneson. Are there any questions on any of this so far? All right, then we will continue on, and I believe it's Ms. Lewis's turn.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members. Article 2 of the DE starts on page 13. Section 1, digital instruction, is the governor's recommendation regarding clarifying if a joint powers cooperative or intermediate district provides online instruction to students of its member districts. Section 2 is also from the governor's recommendation, and that is the college entrance exam reimbursement, and provides up to $800,000 to the department for reimbursement system updates and maintenance. Section 3 is a repealer. It repeals 2 sections. The first section in paragraph A is the test disruption database. And then paragraph B is the Innovation Research Zones program. And that's the end of Article 2.
Members, any questions? All right, we can continue then.
Madam Chair, members, Article 3 is a teacher's article. It begins on page 15. Section 1 is from a Senator Kunesh bill, Senate File 1201, and requires the Legislative Budget Office to collect information and compile a report on school district and charter school group health insurance arrangements. Section 2 begins on page 17 and comes from a Senate File 3625 from Senator Kunesh. Sometimes this was called the Pelsby bill. Section 2 extends the availability of the one-time appropriation for the board's information technology costs, originally from laws 2024. Section 3 is a governor's recommendation extending the availability of the Educator Tuition Assistance Program, or ETAP, appropriations. Section 4 is, again, a governor's recommendation authorizing a one-time transfer in fiscal year 2027 of up to $20 million from the Grow Your Own account to the Special Education Teacher Pathway Program account in the Special Revenue Fund. Section 5 is a one-time transfer for Pelsby, authorizing them to transfer any remaining unexpended amount, estimated to be about $150,000, from their background studies account in the Special Revenue Fund to the board's operating account in the general fund, and this will be a one-time transfer. Section 6 is from Senate File 1201, Senator Kunesh, and appropriates the money indicated in the fiscal note to the Legislative Coordinating Commission for the Legislative Budget Office's work for the annual group health insurance survey and report I described earlier. Section 7 is appropriation section. This is, members may recall that in the governor's recommendation, the governor recommended funding a paraprofessional support specialist through a sort of carve out from the existing paraprofessional training reimbursement appropriation. The chair's recommendation is to also fund a paraprofessional support specialist with an additional general fund appropriation. Madam Chair, that concludes Article 3.
Questions or comments? Nope. All right, let's move along.
Madam Chair, members, Article 4 starts on page 19. Section 1 is from Senator Bolden's Senate File 3983, the anonymous threat reporting system. And this language is mostly as we saw it in committee, but on page 21, there are two additions to the language. Line 21.6 is for districts or charter schools that establish a local system, and that putting that information on the identification cards. And then on line 21.20 is for a district or charter school that does not have a local reporting system, that they also have to then put the statewide system information on their student ID cards. Then moving on to Section 2, which is on page 22. It's the beginning of 10 sections from Senator Mayquade's Senate File 3969 on grooming, and these sections are just as we saw them in committee and include the amendments that were adopted in committee. Section 2 is allowing Pelsby or BOSA to refuse to issue, renew, or automatically revoke a teacher's license without a hearing if there's a conviction of, and adding a conviction of grooming as one of the possibilities for refusing the license. Section 3 is a reporting requirement by a police department or county sheriff if a licensed teacher is criminally charged with the offenses listed for which they would, the board would refuse to renew or issue a license without a hearing. Section 4 is the requirement to the Commissioner of Children, Youth, and Families in their training module that they provide one on grooming and consult with the Department of Education in creating that module or updating the training. Section 5 is for the maltreatment screening guidelines, and that they must not limit an agency's ability to screen and investigate a report of maltreatment that may have occurred more than 3 years prior to reporting. That same language is in the next section 6. That to make sure that the guidelines or nothing prevents the investigation that's of an incident that occurred more than 3 years before being reported. And again, in Section 7. Section 8 is part of the criminal code and defines a pattern. Section 9 is the definition of grooming. Section 10 on page 29 is for violations by persons in positions of authority. And Section 11 is school violations. And then Section 12 is the penalty. Section 13 is from the governor's recommendation, and it is extending the grants for gender-neutral single-user restrooms. This is the 2023 laws appropriation for fiscal years 24 and 25, and allows those appropriations to be available until June 30th, 2029. Then the next section is the laws 25 appropriation, and allows appropriations to be available until June 30th, 2031, and also changes the report from being an annual report to being biannual report. or biennial report. Section 15 is from Senator Kunesh's Senate File 5000, and that is the School Safety Aid and Grant Program. And Section 1, or Subdivision 1, is the aid for districts, charter schools, intermediate districts, cooperative units, or American Indian Tribal Contract Schools. And then Subdivision 2 is the non-public school grants. And that's the end.
Thank you very much. Any comments? And then otherwise, we're going to go directly to testimony. Senator Farnsworth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to clarify something. So on Section 2, grounds for revocation, suspension, denial, I thought you said that they could deny the license if they were charged, but in your summary it says convicted, so I assume it's convicted, right, not just charged?
Ms. Lewis?
Yes, Madam Chair and Senator Farnsworth, it is on that convicted. Yep. It's the charging that the sheriff or local law enforcement agency needs to inform the board, but the removing a license, they have to be convicted.
Follow up? Okay. All right, we will then move to our testimony. Oops, excuse me. We have to hear, pardon me, the finance part of all of this.
Madam Chair, I'll just make a note for you in the committee that Article 5 of the DE is the forecast adjustments. This is identical to Senate File 4282, and members may be aware that Senate File 4082 was heard yesterday in Finance Committee and combined with certain other forecast adjustments for other agencies, and is shortly headed to the Senate floor.
All right.
The typical forecast article.
Yes, the typical one. Maybe before we go on, would you also take a moment and explain the spreadsheet as well? Thank you.
Madam Chair and members, you have, I think, 5 separate kind of fiscal documents in front of you. The one I'm going to introduce now is the single-page letter-sized portrait orientation. In the upper left-hand corner, it reads, net general fund changes by proposal, Senate File 3551, Chair's recommendations. This displays only the change items in the DE. The items are organized by article of the DE, general ed, ed excellence, teachers, school facilities. The first 30 lines are the changes in the general fund. The last handful of lines are the changes in the special revenue fund. Just kind of a general note about the several items in the DE where the recommendation is to extend the availability of an existing appropriation. Under the budget rules, that extension is always displayed as 2 separate offsetting lines. So for example, extending the availability of the appropriation for student attendance pilot program in lines 4 through 6. Line 5 displays the estimated savings that at this moment is our best guess of the amount that would cancel back to the general fund if it went unexpended. And line 6 is an equal offsetting amount tracking the sort of cost of the extension. Maybe I'll stop there, Madam Chair, and I'm glad to answer specific questions about this change item sheet if members have them. I'll just note for members that the 8.5 by 14 documents oriented in landscape form are the full tracking documents that are typically available to the committee with each forecast and each committee stop. One of them is an aid appropriation summary. The other is the property tax tracking. The change items on the summary sheet correspond with items tracked in the full aid tracking. Under this recommendation, there are no property tax recommendations. So there's a property tax tracking sheet prepared and provided, but the changes are 0 relative to the forecast. And finally, there are 2 district-level runs available for members. The first displays the compensatory aid modification, and the second displays the estimated district-level amounts for the school safety aid proposal in this DE amendment.
Senator Rarick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just for clarification, and there's a lot of things that cancel back and forth, but there's basically 4 appropriations in the bill. If I'm seeing this correctly, that would be the compensatory revenue, the health insurance report, the paraprofessional specialist, and then the school safety aid. Is that correct? Those are the only 4 actual additions to the spending in this bill.
Madam Chair and Senator Reck, yes, I think that is correct, though I might also, just put the Pellsby transfer authority between funds into that bucket of kind of items that are, the amount transferred from the special revenue fund for the Pellsby item is identical to the opposite sign in the general fund, but it's transferring between funds, so it's not exactly offsetting within the same fund. So I would put that in that bucket too, but your other observation is correct. Yeah.
Any other questions? All right. We have lots of spreadsheets to look at. So if you do have any questions down the road, please don't hesitate to reach out to my team at all, and I'm sure Mr. Arneson would love to explain this to you very clearly. All right, so with that, we'll move on now to testimony on the A4. And I'd like to invite Commissioner Willie Jett up to the testifying table. And if Shannon Mitchell would also like to join us up there, you'll speak second. And the third person would be Karen Klinsing. Welcome to our committee, our short and sweet little omnibus bill. Commissioner, if you'd like to introduce yourself for the record, and you may begin.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Kunesh and committee members. My name is Willie Jett, Commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Education, and I'd just like to say thank you for the opportunity to offer, brief remarks on the 2026 omnibus. I appreciate Chair Kunesh's inclusion of many provisions from the governor's 2026 proposal. The transfer from the Grow Your Own reserve to the Special Education Teacher Pathway Program will help address demand for licensed special education teachers by reducing financial barriers and expanding support. A dedicated paraprofessional specialist at the department will be critical to providing statewide guidance, professional development, and technical assistance for paraprofessionals. The bill also allows the agency to use existing funds to update the college entrance exam system, creating a more user-friendly reimbursement process and reducing district paperwork so that staff can focus more on students. I'd like to say thank you for including technical revisions, including correcting the attendance pilot timeline and extending grant timelines for gender-neutral single-user restrooms and the Education Tuition Assistance Program so funds can be fully utilized. Several of the governor's proposals are not included in the bill, and we appreciate ongoing discussions around establishing an Office of Inspector General to strengthen fraud prevention and program integrity, and we look forward to continuing that work. We also hope to continue conversations on student support intervention and response teams and additional FTE to support safe, inclusive learning environments with proactive, research-based supports. We support anonymous threat reporting systems and defining grooming within the maltreatment program, but effective implementation will require sufficient resources. We also encourage consideration of the proposed task force on student assessments to provide a more comprehensive, timely, and instructionally useful picture of student learning while reducing high-stakes testing pressure. And finally, just thank you for your partnership. As we approach the final month of session, we look forward to continuing our work together to pass a budget that prioritizes student safety, ensures program integrity, and addresses structural balance and advances our shared goal of being the education state. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Next, we'll hear from Shannon Mitchell, and is Karen Kunzing here? Oh, there she is. All right, if you would like to introduce yourself, and you may begin. Thank you, Commissioner.
Chair Kunesh and members, thank you for the opportunity to testify. My name is Shannon Mitchell, and I'm with the Minnesota Association of Charter Schools, made up of 170 chartered public schools across the state, serving roughly 70,000 students. These are extremely challenging times for school leaders and lawmakers alike. Both groups are trying to do more with less, and this bill does just that. There are two specific provisions we want to thank you for including in this bill. The first is including safety aid to charters in the form of a one-time funding. We appreciate the seriousness of the safety provisions as they represent compromise, fiscal feasibility, and ultimately show a desire to get something done now this year. And so thank you so much for including that. Second, we appreciate that there is some form of compensatory relief for schools that stand to lose a significant portion of their budgets. While it isn't the amount we hope for, we appreciate that there is some relief in this bill. Without a hold harmless, some schools that serve significant numbers of students living in poverty could stand to lose just extremely large portions of their budget overnight, even though they serve the same amount of students living in poverty. We also appreciate what's not in this bill. Given the state's financial realities, we know that targeted and significant cuts were a real possibility, and we appreciate that those are not in there. So you'll hear more specifics from school leaders, but please know that the safety aid and compensatory provisions will have immediate and positive impacts if passed into law. So thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much for joining us today. Ms. Klinzing, and then we will go to Erica Hansen, who is online. So if Shannon Peterson and Ann Weiss would like to join us at the testimony table, we'll be ready to go. Ms. Klinzing?
Good morning, Senators. My name is Karen Klinzing, and I'm here today in support of the 2026 Senate Education Finance Omnibus Bill. As a former Minnesota legislator, I understand how difficult your task is this year, balancing many worthy priorities with limited resources. I want to begin by expressing my appreciation for the thoughtful work that is reflected in this bill and the time you took to hear out testimony throughout the session. Today, though, I serve as an executive director of a public charter school in Minneapolis, serving more than 1,650 students, a majority of whom come from low-income households and new to the country families. I am especially grateful for two provisions in the bill that are critical to our students' success. I was talking with a student leader recently who told me, I just want the same chance as everyone else. This is a value we can all get behind, and I think this bill helps to provide for those students who want that same chance as any other kid. First, the $44 per pupil one-time safety aid is both timely and necessary. Charter schools have fewer funding streams to support student safety. And during the Metro surge, we had to rely heavily on our general fund to meet urgent safety needs. For 8 weeks, our students shifted into alternative learning environments, and we worked to ensure safe, supportive spaces for all, whether at home or in person. That came at the cost of academic programming. The safety aid helps move us towards restoring some of that programming because every student deserves to feel safe at school, and this provision helps make that possible. Second, I really deeply appreciate the provision to prevent drastic cuts in compensatory revenue for the 2026-2027 school year. This will also provide time for the task force to complete its work. While we will still realize a $500,000 cut under this provision, it is not the $2 million that we were facing before, which is almost 10% of our budget. So at our school, these funds support college counseling, tutoring, family outreach, translation services, athletics, and enrichment. And these are not extras. These are essential to helping students to get the same chance as everyone else. So I think this bill provides a safety aid and compensatory revenue that values that all students deserve to feel safe at school. So thank you for your leadership and your commitment to Minnesota's students, all of Minnesota's students. I urge support for the bill.
Thank you, Ms. Klinzing. All right, we're going to go to Ms. Hanson, who is online. If you would like to introduce yourself, and then we have Shannon Peterson, Amy Weiss, and I'd like to invite Scott Kronquist to the table. Ms. Hanson, you may begin.
Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Erica Hansen, and I'm here today as a teacher, a school board member, and most importantly, as a dedicated parent at Duluth Edison Charter Schools. Every day I walk into my classroom with a promise to my students and to their families that my number one job is to keep them safe. That promise has taken on a deeper meaning in today's world. In my classroom of 7 and 8-year-olds, we don't just focus on reading and math, but we are also counselors, nurses, and protectors. We must practice lockdown drills. My students ask thoughtful and sometimes very heartbreaking questions. How do we hide with a window into our classroom? Will the door lock hold? What can we put in front of our door to jam it? Would you hold down an attacker so we can run? And as our teacher, I answer them, I guide them, I reassure them, but the truth is, those conversations come with a weight that no child and no teacher should have to carry alone. Safety isn't optional, it's foundational to learning, and without safety, learning doesn't happen. So thank you for including safety aid at $44 per student. We are grateful for this immediate aid. It means stronger systems, better training, and the resources needed to respond effectively in emergencies. Protections and comforts for these little minds, such as curtains and extra lockdown supports. It means that charter schools like Duluth Edison are not left behind when it comes to protecting our students. As a board member, I see the difficult financial decisions schools face. As a teacher, I feel the responsibility every single day. And as a parent, I need to know that my own children are learning in an environment where safety is prioritized and supported so that if the time comes, I can fully focus on each and every one of my students that I have promised to keep safe to the best of my ability, knowing that other teachers are doing the exact same for my own children. Extending this funding as an ongoing support is critical. Our students deserve consistency, not uncertainty, when it comes to their safety. I'm asking you to support this bill so that I and other charter educators across Minnesota can continue to uphold the most important promise that we make to our students, to keep them safe. Thank you for your time and your commitment to our schools. We hope to contribute that we hope to continue this funding going forward as a commitment to our students' safety. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hanson. And next we'll hear from Shannon Peterson. If you'd like to introduce yourself, and you may begin.
Good morning. I'm Shannon Peterson. I'm the Executive Director of Lakes International Language Academy, also known as LILA in Forest Lake. Thank you for including safety aid for charter schools in the Senate Omnibus bill. In a policy year, your decision signals a clear understanding that school safety is not optional and it cannot be funded in one public school and not in another. Earlier this session, I shared that we had to remove non-flame retardant curtains from our elementary classrooms, leaving our young learners in rooms that are fully visible from outside. What once felt like an inconvenience, the sun glare on the whiteboard, changed after the Annunciation shooting from outside of their school. Our staff are now afraid for their students and feel exposed in a way that impacts their sense of safety and well-being. Charter schools receive only about 70% of taxpayer funding of a district school and $0 in safety aid currently. So at LILA, when we invest in safety, we must cut staff and continue to pay salaries that lag behind our district counterparts. We are constantly weighing the needs that should never be in competition. From that same bucket that we pay, from which we pay teachers, we must fund our visitor screening system, cameras for parking lots, entrances, and hallways, our PA systems for emergency communication. We dream about doing more, for example, hiring a social worker or a full-time psychologist for our 1,400 students. But every step forward in safety raises the same question: what do we cut to afford it? So I just want to end by thanking you again for taking this step toward consistent public funding for charter schools.
Thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. And Ms. Weiss, if you'd like to introduce yourself, you may begin.
Good morning, Chair Kunesh and members of the committee. My name is Ann Weiss, Executive Director of the Minnesota Association of Independent Schools, also known as MAISE. We represent 17 schools and more than 10,000 students and families across our state. I am here today to express our sincere gratitude for your continued support of all Minnesota students through the preservation of non-public pupil aid and transportation aid, as well as for the inclusion of the grant programming and Senate File 5000. I was like, well, that was fast. Excuse me. Over the past year, we have consistently heard a powerful message across the legislature that all students are Minnesota students, and we deeply appreciate seeing that commitment reflected in this bill. For decades, non-public pupil aid has ensured access to essential services like textbooks, counseling, nursing, and transportation. Transportation aid ensures that students can safely access their education each day. These are not extras, they are critical services that support student health, safety, well-being, and academic success. Your decision to maintain these supports affirms Minnesota's longstanding commitment to equity and access for all learners, regardless of where they attend school. This session, we're also grateful for the opportunity to have heard Senator Rarick's bill, Senate File 903, and will continue to support efforts like his that expand access to critical counseling services for students in grades kindergarten through 6th. Mays remains committed to working alongside of you to ensure that all Minnesota students have access to essential supports, including counseling services. On behalf of our schools, family, and students, thank you for your leadership, your collaboration, and your commitment to policies that truly support all Minnesota students.
Thank you, Ms. Weiss. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Kronquist, and then we have two remote testifiers, Sarah Quinn and Anna L. So if Aquila Robertson and Sarah Burt would like to join us at the table, we'll be all ready to go. Mr. Kronquist?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. For the record, my name is Scott Kronquist with the Association of Metropolitan School Districts, and today I'm also representing MSBA, MASA, MREA, and MASBO. Thank you for the opportunity to share some comments on Senate File 3551. As you all know, school districts throughout the state are facing budget challenges, with many already approving staff layoffs and other cuts for the 26-27 school year. So we appreciate the supplemental funding included in this bill. While we would have much preferred Senator Clark's original bill that the committee heard earlier in the session, the one-time compensatory revenue included in this bill will mitigate cuts for some districts. Most school districts are facing a reduction in compensatory revenue following the change included in the universal meals legislation in how we identify students to receive additional support. Relying strictly on direct certification fails to identify many students. Our districts are still serving those students, but now we'll have to do so with fewer resources. We also support extending the flexibility for school boards to allocate up to 40% of the compensatory revenue for another year to help ensure that all students who need support are served. We also greatly support and appreciate the one-time school safety aid and the flexibility provided so that our locally elected school boards, working with their administrators, can determine how to invest in safety, whether that's physical safety, mental health support, staff training, or technology. We also support repealing the requirement that the ballot language for a referendum include the statement that a yes vote equals a property tax increase. Not only is this required statement not always accurate, our school districts are required to mail each taxpayer at least 15 days, but no more than 45 days before the referendum, a notice of that referendum and the proposed revenue increase. The notice must project the anticipated amount of tax increase in annual dollars for residential, homesteads, agriculture, apartments, and commercial industrial property within the district. This mailing ensures transparency and gives voters the information they need to make an informed decision. Thank you also for the additional flexibility with operating capital revenue and the fund transfers that are included in the bill. As we have testified in previous hearings, extending broader flexibility to all school districts to transfer non-federal fund surpluses among operating accounts would provide budgetary relief for our school districts without a cost to the state. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify and for your work throughout the session.
Thank you, Mr. Kronquist. And so we are going remotely to Sarah Quinn. If you'd like to introduce yourself, you may begin.
Hello, my name is Sarah Quinn, and I live in Senate District 62, and I'm a member of Minneapolis Families for Public Schools. I'm a proud Minneapolis public school parent with a second grader and rising kindergartner at Emerson Dual Language School. I'm here to testify in support of the compensatory aid hold armless bill included in the Education Finance Omnibus. I've been an MPS parent for 3 academic years, and in this short time have experienced annual budget cuts at our school. During my child's first grade year, families and administrators sat down to make impossible decisions regarding cutting essential positions at our school. Our choices were to cut positions for English language, behavioral health support, or teaching assistants. At the end of the 2024-2025 school year, parents and administrators made the difficult decision to cut one of our 2 behavioral support roles at Emerson, leaving only 1 behavioral support staff for a school of over 500 students. We also lost a full-time position for English language. This spring, more parents and administrators sat down in a virtual space to make another round of difficult decisions as we prepared for more budget cuts. One option for consideration was to eliminate the behavioral health support staff, therefore fully eliminating all behavioral support for students at our school. Given all our school community endured during Operation Metro Surge, eliminating support for behavioral health felt absolutely unimaginable. Due to the crucial role our behavioral support staff provides, that left us with no other option but to eliminate teacher assistants and English language teachers. Each year, we sit with our administrators to help guide decision-making in cutting these vital roles in schools. We have such incredible students, families, and educators at our school. But to experience significant cuts each academic year to such vital roles in our schools is heartbreaking. Our students deserve better. Currently, our school is being impacted by the unintentional changes in compensatory aid. I'm here today to share my support for the compensatory aid hold harmless bill included in this omnibus bill because our students need it. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you, Ms. Quinn. Next, we'll hear from Anna L. If you'd like to introduce yourself, you may begin.
Hello, my name is Anna L. I use they, she pronouns. I'm the mom of a 3rd grader at Marcy Elementary in MPS and a parent leader with Minneapolis Families for Public Schools. I'm here today to talk about compensatory aid funding. Marcy is a Title I school, which means that compensatory aid funding is a critical component of how our school runs. The legislature did an amazing thing by providing free lunch to all students in Minnesota, but the free and reduced lunch form is how compensatory aid is calculated. Without the need to fill out that form to get free lunch, families are understandably ignoring it. This means that the funding is evaporating even as the need increases because the mechanism for measuring that need is now broken. I'm a strong believer in public schools. Public schools are the heart of our communities and the foundation of our democracy. And as the former co-chair of Marcy Family Connections, our school's PTA, and the current co-chair of the Queer Trans Parent Advisory Council for MPS, I've donated hundreds of hours of my time to building up our public school community. In that time, I've been honored and humbled to witness the incredible work of educators, administrators, and staff, work that is being threatened by this loss of critical funding. As the parent of a special ed student, I cannot tell you how transformative my child's teachers, aides, and social workers have been in fostering her growth. Yet we face critical cuts to special education services without this funding. When we say cuts to services, it's easier to stomach, but let's be honest. Without the human beings who provide those services, kids like mine cannot access their education. Balancing the budget at the expense of our most vulnerable students is unethical. Our school's principal has been a true partner in building a community that serves all our kids, but she's facing impossible choices about which critical services to cut because funding for public schools has been at a crisis level for years, and the cuts never seem to stop. You have a chance to begin reversing that trend by supporting compensatory aid funding. Our public school families and educators are showing up every day for our students. We just need to fund our schools for every kiddo in Minnesota. Passing the compensatory aid hold harmless bill in this omnibus is an important first step. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony, and thank you for your advocacy. Next, we have Aquila Roberson, Sarah Burt, and then after that, we will have Peter Eckhoff, who will be testifying remotely, and Matt Shaver, if you want to join us at the table, we'll be done.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. I am Dr. Aquila Roberson, Policy Director at Education Evolving. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on Senate File 3551. But I have promises to keep. and miles to go before I sleep. These words penned by Robert Frost implicate the terrific responsibility of leadership, intentionality that forward momentum carefully considers the needs of those in your charge. This bill is a move in that direction, addressing the unique learning needs of our students with care. We do acknowledge that we share in the sentiments expressed by those who testified earlier, and want to take this moment to draw your attention to Article 1, Section 3, which points out compensatory revenue modifications. Education Evolving is a part of a coalition of 15-plus youth-serving organizations working to understand how federal policy changes are impacting Minnesota students, most notably changes to federal SNAP and Medicaid eligibility, which directly impacts the number of students who will qualify for these programs. In turn, this affects the compensatory revenue, the second largest general education funding stream in our state that relies on student poverty counts, and these counts are tied directly to SNAP and Medicaid enrollment. A modification to include a hold harmless policy was provided. Thank you, as this lessens the impact that the aforementioned has on our schools, providing short-term stability. There is still urgency to continue working towards a long-term solution, which we are hopeful the Compensatory Revenue Task Force will provide in their final report later this year. We are grateful for this committee maintaining conversation on the need for changes in our education system in light of the present landscape, and are confident that you will continue to do so. We have miles to go before we sleep and promises to keep to our students, families, and communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Roberson. And next we'll hear from Sarah Burt.
My name is Sarah Burt, a lobbyist for Education Minnesota. We'd like to thank the committee for hearing SF 1201 and including this in your omnibus, a survey to school districts that will obtain health insurance information from districts. We appreciate the commitment from this committee to understand how out of control health insurance costs are impacting Minnesota educators and school district budgets. This survey will provide a statewide understanding of how much districts are currently spending on health insurance costs. 95% of the information asked for in this survey is information districts already keep fresh in their accounting systems. Thank you for your commitment to improving the lives of educators through working towards benefit improvements for our teachers and our hourly school workers. We also greatly appreciate the money allocated to a compensatory hold harmless in this amendment. We recognize the current budget pressures the state is experiencing and appreciate this investment for districts. It's urgently needed. We have a preference that some site-based aid continue to exist in this language, preserving either the original 80-20 site allocation or something similar to it helps ensure that the money is reaching the students in the district with the highest needs. We also want to recognize that recent changes to compensatory aid has meant that the count has changed. And we want to emphasize to the legislature that the need still remains for thousands of students that are now not being counted. We urge the legislature to continue working on obtaining a comprehensive count. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Burt. Next, we are going remotely to Peter Eckhoff. Good morning, Peter. When you are ready, you may state your name for the record and please begin.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Peter Eckhoff, and I'm currently the president of the Robbinsdale Federation of Teachers and a teacher in Robbinsdale area schools for the last 31 years. I currently represent over 900 teachers and work with 250 paraprofessionals in our district as well. Since 2023, this committee and education policy have done so much to support our kids. You've required non-exclusionary discipline to eliminate disparities in discipline. You've required state health standards and a course in civics for our teenagers. You've made sure our students have personal finance lessons to be prepared when they start balancing their budgets. And you've made sure that every student in Minnesota receives an education about the indigenous tribes in our state, past and present. And none of your work applies to private schools. Well, that's why I'm here today, to speak in opposition to aid to non-public schools. Using public dollars to fund schools that exclude other people's children is not religious freedom. It's using public money to deepen the divisions in our community. In my community, the nearest private schools are either sectarian and outrageously expensive or faith-based. And in Robbinsdale, our motto is believe, belong, become. Our doors are open to any student in our community or open enrolls in our school. And we make sure whenever a student's needs, whatever the student's needs are, that accelerated learning in a gifted and talented program or accommodations for a peanut allergy or extra time for tests this legislature and the U.S. Department of Education require. Tests that private schools don't need to spend staff time nor money on. Public schools serve every child. Private schools choose their children, and that is the difference. And that's why voters in Minnesota consistently reject funding private schools in poll after poll, including one that the legislature's booth in the State Fair just a few years ago. This committee has done so much good to better fund our students and make sure they are well-rounded, educated citizens. And yet, actions last year during a budget deficit and uncertainty from DC cut millions from funding our public schools to the tune of over $200 million annually from our public schools. And this has a significant impact on our funding for Robbinsdale schools and leaves us in a continuing environment of cutting programs, closing schools, and reducing options for our students and families. We need more counselors, but unfortunately, this leaves us with fewer in an environment of ever-increasing mental health needs in our student population. After the shooting at Annunciation, our governing board of Education Minnesota took a vote to add banning high-capacity magazines and assault rifles to our legislative agenda. I urge the committee to focus on the real cause of gun violence, namely guns. I thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you, Mr. Eckhoff. And lastly, we have Mr. Shaver. If you'd like to introduce yourself, and you may begin.
Chair Kunesh, members of the committee, good morning. I'm Matt Shaver, Senior Policy Director at Ed Allies. We are advocates for improving student outcomes. Thank you for the opportunity to provide feedback on the finance omnibus. They call the last pick of the NFL draft each year Mr. Irrelevant. So what do you call the guy who gets to be the last testifier on the last Ed Finance omnibus before this committee of the biennium? It's not even the start of the joke. I'm assuming or hoping Ms. Selmer has some kind of certificate for me back there to mark the occasion. To the bill, the compensatory hold harmless, as we testified on Senator Clark's bill a few weeks ago, is a solid temporary solution that will hopefully be the last one needed for this critical funding formula. As a member of the compensatory task force, I'll say we're doing good and thorough work there to have long overdue discussions about how this funding stream can work better for students. The need for a hold harmless is because of how Minnesota chooses to identify students to generate these additional dollars and how those methods result in undercounts of student need. Relying solely on voluntary annual income form submissions from families turned into schools has significant administrative burdens, and relying solely on direct certification misses families who don't participate in those programs. Throw in a pandemic, remote learning, declining enrollment, eligibility changes at the federal level, you've got a recipe for serious instability in compensatory dollars, while the overall amount the state puts in the formula has nearly doubled in the last few years. Fortunately, our task force is learning directly from states facing similar challenges who decided to stop putting Band-Aids on problems. New Mexico recently presented to us a way of accurately identifying student need that comprehensively addresses each issue we see in Minnesota with how we count kids for compensatory revenue. Our task force has more work to do beyond how to count students before our final recommendations are due to the legislature this fall. So in the meantime, this proposal to keep districts as stable as possible makes sense. Ed Allies also supports efforts to fund school safety initiatives for all Minnesota students. We'll miss flexible uses to address chronic absenteeism, of course, as we know that part of keeping children safe is going to include supporting them getting to school. And finally, we think there's still value in rethinking how we fund the READ Act, with the new reading MCA making it not possible to calculate fourth grade growth. Leaving the formula and tens of millions of dollars attached to test scores is what makes these assessments high stakes in Minnesota and is the most unpredictable funding path forward for schools, as well as the least likely way to get limited resources where the biggest literacy needs are. Thank you, Chair Kunesh and members, for your time today, and as always, thank you for your public service to our state.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shaver. And that concludes our testimony. Is there any comments or questions? Otherwise, we are going to move right along. Senator Clark.
Thank you, Chair Kunesh, and thank you, testifiers. Just quick note on compensatory revenue piece. So as Mr. Shaver noted and lots of other folks did note, we're continuing to work on this, and it's a spot that around the state folks are going, all right, how do we make this better? In the modified A4, we've got we changed from a site level to a district level cap. And so I'm just wondering if Mr. Arneson can talk through, my understanding is that the compensatory aid is calculated at the site level and then summed up to the district level. So by summing it up at the site level, bringing it up to the district level, and then saying we're going to take it, but we're going to cap at the district level, that if it all sums up to be more than 90%, there's no change for the whole district. How does that then individually affect some of the schools? So is it possible that certain sites will have drops of greater than 10% in compensatory revenue aid?
Mr. Arneson?
Madam Chair and Senator Clark, under the language in the A4, it is possible that some sites, under the current law, initial calculation for fiscal year 27, would see reductions in their compensatory aid of greater than 10% relative to the previous year.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Continue.
Thank you, Chair. And so that's where I just want to be cognizant of that. And I know this is not this is a good conversation, a ongoing conversation. And so I just want to make sure that we're acknowledging that and seeing if we can continue to figure out, Chair, ways to look at that as we have conversations with the other body, or to go, all right, does this continue to make sense, or are we inadvertently looping in a few schools that are going to get a 25 or a 30% cut that wasn't under the prior version of the compensatory aid bill, but in the modified R. Just checking in on that with you, Chair.
We can take a look at that and make a decision. We can talk about that. That's
Okay.
pretty fine. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Senator Umer for Baden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just appreciate what Senator Clark is raising. I think we're still working on this, but if there is a way to preserve some of the hold harmless at the site level, I think that would be preferable to me as well, just knowing the impact to my districts.
Thank you. All right. Well, with that, we are now going to move on to Senate File 4677. Senator Seeberger. Members, it is our intention to lay over Senate File 4677 for possible inclusion. Because we did not have time yesterday to discuss this a little bit more, to ask questions by members, I asked Senator Seeberger to join us once again and get some more clarification on her bill. And with that, Senator Gustafson, would you like to move Senate File 4677 before the committee? Thank you. All right, Senator Seeberger, to your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I stand ready to answer any questions the committee may have.
Members, are there questions Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to start by thanking you for bringing this back to the committee today. I admit I was a bit frustrated at the end of committee yesterday, and I was probably a little short with you in my comments about not having committee time to discuss this. So thank you for bringing it back. There are a number of things that I want to point out that I think we should think about as this moves forward. The biggest thing that I want to address is, as we heard all the testifiers, and I want folks to know I listened to every single one of your stories as you brought them forward. But I think what was missing in the stories is that you haven't actually looked at what the bill is doing. Because as I listened to the stories, there is not one of them that none of the families that brought forward their concerns would ever have to go through that again if this bill passes. And I think that's something that we have to strongly consider, that as we heard folks talking about it being solitary confinement, torture, jail, I do not dismiss that that didn't happen. In fact, we've heard the stories, they have. And that's why I want to give Senator Seeberger credit that she has addressed those very issues with what's presented in this bill to make sure that that does not happen anymore. And for people who are opposed to this, saying this is a step backward, I would argue this is actually an incredible step forward. Right now, there is nothing that has any restrictions for seclusion rooms for grades 4 through 12. This puts those very same restrictions that we're talking about for the 1 through 3 in place for 4 through 12, and it is creating the date when this will absolutely end, which doesn't exist today. So I hope everyone here considers that. Again, I appreciate the stories that came forward. It's really explains to us why something needs to be done. And I believe this bill is doing exactly that. The one other comment that was made yesterday about this was that when the original proposal in 23 had come forward, that was the compromise. Well, I will say my experiences in 23 is that there were no compromises. Not just in this bill, but in a number of things across this legislature. So I believe there are many, many things that have to be readdressed from 23, and not to call anyone out specifically, but what was the biggest thing we heard here today in appreciation for the last bill? The compensatory hold harmless, which was a result of the passage of the free school meals that many of us during that very discussion said, this is going to screw up compensatory revenue. And we're back here still without an answer to that. So I think there are a number of things from 23 and 24 that we have to be willing to go back and readdress, because the real compromises were not taken into consideration. So I hope we will strongly consider this. I truly believe this should be being passed forward as a standalone bill, and continuing this discussion and having this discussion on the floor. I think, as I see it anyway, there are many things that we can say that we do here, and I don't believe we ever get anything perfect. But I think this bill is making a step forward that is very worthy. That is a step that we should absolutely be taking. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Rarick. Senator Kroon. Farnsworth. Senator Farnsworth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Senator Rarick sort of talked about a few of the things that I wanted to talk about, but we heard from a lot of testifiers yesterday, and unfortunately a lot of what they said was misleading or just completely false from the bill. So I'm just going to ask the bill author a number of questions so that we can get a clear answer on some of these, what I believe were misleading statements. I thought it was interesting. We only had one pupil support assistant that testified. We didn't have any EBD teachers. We didn't have other PSAs that testified. And I think it would be interesting to hear what EBD teachers have to say about this that are actually working in the field. And I'm probably the only licensed EBD teacher in the legislature. And I'll share my story at the end of my comments, but I'll get to the questions for the bill author. So yesterday we heard parents testifying about how their kids were thrown into solitary confinement and how terrible that was. And as Senator Rarick said, I'm not going to discount that. That may have happened. But Senator Seeberger, in your bill, if parents don't agree to allow seclusion, can that legally happen?
Senator Seeberger. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator Farnsworth. It cannot. And going even beyond that, it prevents an administrative law judge or other judicial process from overriding a parent's non-consent to seclusion. So not only will my bill not allow seclusion to be used if parents don't consent, it further does not allow it if somehow an administrative law judge or some other quasi-judicial or judicial process overrides that. Senator Farnsworth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next question, we heard the term solitary confinement a number of times. Now, before I worked for the Hibbing School District, I actually worked for the Department of Corrections. I've seen what solitary confinement is, so I know the difference. But Senator Seeberger, can you just explain the difference between a seclusion room and what they're characterizing as solitary confinement?
Senator Seeberger. Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Farnsworth. Solitary confinement is used in prisons and jails. My understanding it's used for various purposes, including disciplining an inmate, maybe keeping an inmate safe if they are threatened by other members of the general population, but it's a procedure used in prison and jails. Our schools are not prison and jails. A seclusion room is a space to keep everyone safe during an emergency. And the idea is the law is when the emergency ends, seclusion ends. I recognize that opponents to seclusion use the phrase solitary confinement as hyperbole or a metaphor maybe for the use of seclusion rooms, but I can tell you as the parent of a child who experienced seclusion, it's offensive to me that term is used. I've made that clear many times that I find that offensive and quite frankly, that has been disregarded by the organizations that oppose this practice. I understand that they oppose the practice. I would ask that we not use inflammatory terms in our disagreement over policy. Senator Farnsworth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So moving on, thank you for that answer. And just so you know, the solitary confinement, at least that I witnessed, I mean, you've got a concrete bed with a thin mattress and concrete walls. There's no padding. You know, there's nobody there trying to de-escalate whoever is in there. So it's significantly different. A couple more questions. So the next one would be, we heard the story about the student who walked out of class and was immediately taken to a seclusion room. It seems to me, I mean, as an EBD teacher, if a kid just walked out of class, I'm not going to grab him and haul him to a seclusion room. So that seems like a bad decision by a single staff member. Under the parameters of your bill, would simply something like walking out of class rise to the level of the emergency that would be required to use a seclusion room?
Senator Seeberger. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Farnsworth. No, it would not. It does not change. My bill does not change the definition of emergency as it exists today. And an emergency is defined as a situation where there is an immediate and imminent threat of physical harm to the student, other students, staff. And the definition also lays out what is not an emergency. Acts of noncompliance, like putting their head down on their desk, is not an emergency. Refusing to do work is not an emergency. While the definition does not encompass walking out of class, as an example, it's certainly that act does not fall within an imminent risk or threat to the student, unless they're running into traffic or something like that. But simply the act of walking out of the classroom certainly does not rise to the level of emergency under our current statute, and my bill does nothing to change that.
Follow-up, Senator.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for indulging me with all these questions. Just a few more. I do want to add one thought on the walking out of class, because it's kind of a catch-22 for teachers. Like if I'm in a classroom and a kid walks out of class and I've got other kids in the room and I can't chase them down, and say they slip on some water in the hallway, well, then parents are going to point their fingers and say, why didn't you keep my kid safe? So I think we need to look at the difficult position that teachers are in and trying to make decisions in a really short amount of time. Certainly, a kid shouldn't be put in seclusion for walking out of class, but I think we have to recognize, and I heard a lot of inflammatory speech yesterday that almost imputes bad motives on teachers. Like teachers want to hurt kids. Teachers want to put kids into seclusion. There is no teacher that I've ever worked with that wants to hurt kids, that wants to put kids into seclusion. And I think we really need to take a step back and realize that for a teacher to think that it would possibly be best to put a student in seclusion, they're thinking about what's best for the child. They're not trying to hurt somebody. And so I just wanted to say that. So my last question before I get to my final comments is, so we have an emergency, a student is out of control. We have a couple of options. There's the seclusion option, which is what we're debating here, or we could call the parents and say, hey, you got to take Johnny home because we can't handle it. And this isn't specific to your bill, it's specific to your example as a parent who went through this. If the school were to call you every day or every other day and say, hey, you got to come get your son, how is that going to affect your career, your professional life, versus if you say, hey, just put him in that room for a little bit, he'll calm down and then he'll be fine. Just your experience as far as how that would interact with your life outside of the school.
Senator Seeberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Farnsworth. Bless you. That did happen in my life, as a matter of fact. My husband was mobilized. He was gone for the Navy in Doha, Qatar. And I was a single parent. Working full-time as a trial attorney. And there were days when I was called to my son's school multiple times in one day. And the attempt was always to try to de-escalate the situation, or if I couldn't, to take him home. Or if he had been put in seclusion that day, often the request was that I simply take him home for the rest of the day. I was put in an impossible position. I remember being called into the senior partner's office and him saying, your personal life is really spilling over into your work. That's not acceptable. And it was a very kind of deflating moment for me, trying to parent my child, partner with the school, constantly being pulled away from my job. And I was trying cases. I was trying jury trials. It put me in an impossible position. And after my husband returned from mobilization, I sat down and I said, I can't do it anymore. I can't do this anymore. I need to be a stay-at-home parent. I can't, it was too much. And I quit my job. My employer was shocked. I'm like, well, you probably should have seen that coming. But, and then it was, I only lasted a couple of weeks. It was, I can't sit still. You people know this about me. And I went back to school, actually. That's when I went back to school to become a teacher, because I thought if my kid can't be successful at school, if I have to come every day to support him through school. When he was in kindergarten, I was there every single day. My career took a hit. And I thought, if I have to end up homeschooling him, I at least want to know what I'm doing. So I went back to school and I got my master's in teaching and I became a teacher. Turns out I loved it and I continued that job. But I have not worked full-time since 2007. because my full-time job was to parent my child. So I hope that answers your question.
Senator Farnsworth.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for answering those questions. And so I mentioned that I worked for the Department of Corrections, teaching students that, they were there for assault and murder and rape and all sorts of heinous things. And in almost 6 years of teaching in the Department of Corrections, I was never assaulted once. And my first day with students at the Lincoln Elementary School in Hibbing, technically I was assaulted multiple times by one student who made life very difficult that year. I actually, this morning after I got back from my run, looked at my shins because for years I had scars on my shins because he purposely would wear these red rain boots because he knew he could make me bleed if he kicked me with them. And so I had scars for years on my shins from that. And I've told this story on the Senate floor, but Senator Holmstrom wasn't here at that time to hear it, so I'm going to tell it again. The worst day of my professional life. This student, we'd been working with him. We don't have seclusion in Hibbing. We had an office next to my classroom where his aide could take him to try and calm him down because he hated all the noise in my classroom. And he would beat his head against the wall. He would try and rip the drywall out, try and eat the drywall, attack his PSA. And we had specialists that came to try and help, work with us to learn new strategies. And all year it went like that. We would, similar to your situation, call the parents in. And the worst moment for me as a teacher is it got towards the end of the school year and he was just going nuts. I mean, that's the only way I can describe it, running against the wall, hitting his head against the wall. So we're spending all this time restraining him, which we know isn't necessarily safe either because, if he slips, if he gets sweaty, he could hurt himself. And you don't want to be restraining a third grade student. And so we called the parents. We're like, you got to bring him home. He's going to get hurt if he's here. The parents were too afraid to bring him. They're like, he's going to jump out of the car. We can't bring him, we can't bring him home. They decided we got to get him to the hospital. And so they had to call the police and they had to put him in the back of a squad car because that was the only safe way to transport him. And I think back now, if we had a seclusion room that had the padding and all of the safety features, could we have avoided calling the police? Because the parents couldn't take him home safely. And I kind of wish that we had a seclusion room so that we could just say, sometimes he would just go curl up in a corner and sleep. And we're like, just let him sleep because he's not hurting himself if he's sleeping. And these seclusions room, I think in certain situations, not many, not most, but in certain situations can make kids safer. They can make staff safer. I mean, his PSA had to wear soccer gear. She had to wear shin guards and guards on her forearms and had to make sure in May when it was 80 degrees in the classroom, she had to wear turtlenecks because he would try and scratch her neck. And it would have made her safer. And we saw the data yesterday that was shared. I mean, the number of injuries, the number of staff injuries has skyrocketed since 2023. The number of restraints has skyrocketed. Maybe we could avoid that. We could avoid all of that because I think most of the restraints are probably used on a small number of students. And maybe a quiet room, a safe room, so the student that I'm thinking of when he was running against the wall, trying to hit his head against the wall, wouldn't hurt him. And he would wear himself out and calm down. This is a way to keep kids safer. It's a way to keep staff safer. I can understand, people don't necessarily want to do it. They think that there's a better way to do it. But I think in a small number of situations, this is probably the best thing that we have. And so I thank you for bringing this up. I think back to my story with that student and think about how maybe we wouldn't have had to call the police and I wouldn't have actually had to have that worst moment of my life, watching a third grade student's head in the backseat of a squad car. It was horrible, and I think we could have avoided that. So I want to thank you for bringing this bill, and I hope that once we get through all of the misinformation about this, I hope that we can land at a good spot so that we can keep kids safe. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Farnsworth. Anybody else want to make a comment or have a question? Senator Verbaden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Seeberger, I just wanted to get a little bit more clarification on the questions that I asked yesterday. You had mentioned that littlest learners, the grades 3 and below, you were seeing more significant injuries. I know that the report that we have talks about the amount of injuries that we're seeing, but I don't see them broken down by age groups. Do you have any data in the report that we are provided that does break that down by age group to show either the amount of injuries by age group or the severity of injuries by age group?
Senator Seeberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Verbaden. That information is not contained in the report, but I'm happy to see if we can gather that specific data from MDE or whatever source we were able to obtain the data from.
Senator Verbaden.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Senator Seeberger. I think that's that would be helpful. Currently we do have the ban for grade 3 or below, so if there is data showing that there are more injuries at that age or significant injuries, I feel like that's sort of the argument you're making, is that you would want the ban to be lifted because there are more happening at that level. I did take a look at the restrictive procedures work group that had some information about the amount of injuries by age group. The categories they have are 0 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, 16 to 22. There's a pretty low amount of injuries, there's a low amount of physical holds happening 0 to 5. And then the report goes on to say that basically for every 14 physical holds, there's an injury, a staff injury. So we could assume, right, that as more physical holds are taking place, there's going to be more injuries. I think that's fair to make that assumption. Not seeing that in the lowest age group, 6 to 10, there is a jump, but I think being able to disaggregate, right, because that doesn't exactly follow the grade 3 criteria that you're that we currently have a ban on, to see if there is that jump in the amount of injuries that staff are having when using physical holds for kind of the youngest groups of children. So I think we should just be careful to make sure we have that exact data showing that there are more physical holds being used at that age, and if there actually are more injuries that staff are sustaining at that age. I think that's an important part of this discussion. I also wanted to follow up on the question, or kind of the conversation about all the criteria that you've listed in order for a seclusion room to be used. Parents needing to be able to see the seclusion room, and those conversations with mental health professionals. There's a number of things listed in here. What would the consequences be if that procedure was not followed? If parents weren't shown the room? If they didn't consult with all the folks that they needed to consult to? What would be the recourse for the parents and the families?
Senator Seeberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Verbaden. The recourse would be the same as it currently exists if seclusion is used improperly. So if a student were secluded in a non-registered room or a room that didn't meet the specific criteria outlined in statute, or if notice provisions weren't followed, and those are submitted to MDE, and we did review, I want to say it was 15 complaints from last year along those same lines. And in the idea is that there is some accountability, and I do want to point out and highlight that seclusion was used last year in grades 1 through 3. And those incidences were reported, but they were used as, we heard testimony that they were used as a last resort, that it was an emergency situation, a seclusion event happened, staff realized, oh shoot, we shouldn't have done that, and it was immediately reported. So the same type of process that currently exists would extend to that. And to go back to your first point, I have been hearing from teachers as they come to meet with me in meetings that are arranged through admin. I have been hearing from elementary school teachers about the increased injuries they're experiencing. Now, nobody has tied it together. Nobody has come in and said, we can't use seclusion, therefore we're being injured more. But anecdotally this session, I have been hearing from educators in my district, elementary school educators, that they are experiencing injury at a higher rate. So I don't have the data tying it all together, but I am hearing it anecdotally from educators.
Follow-up, Senator.
Madam Chair, thank you, Senator Seeberger. Yeah, and I don't doubt that. I think what I'm really just looking for is getting a better understanding of how many injuries are happening by age group and the severity of those injuries, just so that we understand if there's, if we're seeing that in a certain group where, you know, again, your comments yesterday were really that there may be these more severe injuries for students below grade 3. I don't think we have conclusive data on that between the report from the seclusion work group that you led and the restrictive procedures working group. So I think getting clearer data would be helpful for everyone. And then just to follow up on the process, right, for families if they consent to using a seclusion room. So if a family does consent, how long does that stay in effect? If a parent agrees to use a seclusion room for, you know, a first grader, does that mean that the school now has the ability to continue to use seclusion until they graduate? Does that have to be revisited at some point? How long would they be giving their consent for?
Senator Seeberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Verbaeten. The consent is in effect until it's revoked. And in fact, if and it's a part of an IEP, so certainly a student's IEP does not last from grade 1 until graduation. IEP meetings are continuous. If a students need changes during the school year, another IEP meeting is held and recommendations, accommodations, supports are revised. If the use of seclusion would be reviewed just like anything else in an IEP process. I'm paging through my bill. I know we had a lot of recommendations come before the working group to accelerate a process. So let's say seclusion is used twice in a month. I'm trying to see if that made it in. That would trigger another IEP meeting to review the process. Certainly if seclusion were used and a parent objected, said, you know, I know we agreed to this, you used it, it's not good, my kid, it wasn't the right thing, consent is revoked and it's not implemented anymore. I think we did accelerate a review to review the use of seclusion. The district must hold a meeting within 10 calendar days after district staff use a restrictive procedure. So to accelerate the review process and the review of that. That was the idea, and that was all in response to concerns that I heard. Unfortunately, it did get a little contentious at the end of the working group, and some of the really good recommendations were not included. There was one to direct the Department of Education to develop and maintain an oral translation of the notice for procedural safeguards. That was in response to concerns that we heard from folks who, to try to support needs of oral translation. The working group did not agree to that, and I'm not entirely sure why. I did draft a bill just holding that on its own because I think it is so important to ensure that parents have oral translation as needed. I don't think it went anywhere this session, but I'll continue to pursue that as well. The idea was to incorporate safeguards to protect our students in response to concerns heard. So some of them made it into the bill. The bill again reflects the recommendations of the working group. Some of them did not make it into the bill. I would like to see them implemented because I think they are good and they are in response, direct response to concerns that I heard.
Follow up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Seeberger. And I do see the notice right after it is used that the district staff would then be having that meeting with the family. But I think I would be curious to see that review process maybe laid out a little bit more clearly so that parents are just fully aware of their rights if they just change their mind at some point. Just kind of having a very clear duration of this is the amount of time for which I am giving my consent. And, you know, if that isn't explicitly laid out and they're not aware that they can change their mind at some point, you know, they could agree to this, things could change, and we'd want to be able to address that.
Madam Chair.
Senator Seeberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Umer Verbate. And that was one of the recommendations that was voted down by the work group. That was one of my recommendations, one of the chair's recommendations, bringing into for voting, and the working group voted that down.
Senator Umer Verbate.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Seeberger, is the record of that being voted down in the chair's recommendation section of the report? Or is it in the report anywhere? I know Senator Seeberger's taking a look. I just have one more question after this, and
That's fine.
Appreciate your indulgence. Thank you.
Certainly.
Let's see, I'm looking at page 25 of the report. All of the chair's recommendations are not reflected in the report, only the one that was voted for in the report. That was the provision that Representative Sensor-Mura made the mistake on. The chair's recommendations followed the amendment 0077, which was voted off the Senate floor last session, and it was broken into sections. So the sections of amendment 0077, which again we voted in favor of last year, portions of that were voted down by the working group, and I think part of that resulted from the tension and frustration that arose following Representative Sensor-Mura's mistaken vote, and it felt like folks were a no on good provisions like providing oral translation, and I commented on that in the meeting, like I can't understand why this group would not vote in favor of oral translation. So if you watch the last meeting, you'll see the tension and frustration that arose, similar to what happened yesterday, and I think sometimes votes were taken without a clear understanding of what we were actually voting on, and rather based on the feelings of the moment.
Senator Umer Verbate.
Madam Chair.
Members, I just want to let you know that Emma is emailing you the report in case you don't have it and you wanted to look something up. We didn't print it, but if you'd like to have the electronic copy of the report, Emma is sending it to you now. Go ahead.
Thank you. I think we had it yesterday, and I saved it in my folder, so thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, just wanted to note that, and if you can follow up with just the specific recommendation that you did have to allow parents to review after consenting that was voted down, I think that would be helpful for the committee, because again, I just have those questions about what if you change your mind, how long are you giving consent for? And then The report does talk about some of the disparities. It says on page 11, MDE student demographic data also show that since 2016-17 school year, students with disabilities identifying as Black or African American or two or more races are overrepresented in the total number of students with disabilities secluded. Did you have a conversation about that in committee and ways to address those disparities?
Senator Seeberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Umar-Verbaeten. Yes, we spent a lot of time on this. And we talked a lot about, if you look further upstream, there's a disparate referral of non-white students to Setting 3 and Setting 4 programs. And we discussed whether that would be an appropriate metric to look at in terms of why are we seeing this overrepresentation. And we heard testimony that there is an overrepresentation of non-white students in Setting 3 and Setting 4 programs. And I would love to see a study as to why that's done and address that problem, because I think that feeds into why we're seeing a disproportionality with seclusion and other restrictive holds. So we did have that conversation.
Senator Umar-Verbaeten.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sure you had obviously conversations about just, generally the impact this has on students with disabilities. I know that in the bill on page 9, it says that ableism and bias awareness to increase understanding that what is perceived as behavior or is often part of a person's disability is things that should be taken into consideration. I'm just not seeing anything around at least in my read of the bill, addressing that overrepresentation of Black or African American students with disabilities. Am I missing anything? Or is there something in your bill that seeks to address that, provide more training, look at solving the disparity that we see in those students with seclusion being used more often with those students?
I'm looking because we had discussed gathering disaggregated data on upon whom seclusion is used. And while that was a part of the 0077 amendment and a part of the chair's recommendations, I'm looking, I thought that made it into the bill, but maybe it did not. Again, there were a lot of, here it is. It's on page 8. So to the extent that we had a lot of discussions about what the numbers actually are. We had nationwide data with regard to the overrepresentation of Black or African American students. We struggled with the Minnesota data. We decided that we needed better data and more information as to what are the numbers that we're actually talking about. So on page 8, 8.4 to 8.8 was an attempt to get at that data.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator Seeberger. And I think that's helpful to get, always helpful to get more data. I think one of my concerns is just as you move into subdivision 5, where there is kind of some explicit recommendations on the training for staff, I'm just not seeing anything that explicitly addresses that there. I think there are other pieces speaking to, the disparate impact generally on students with disabilities, but not specifically Black and African American students with disabilities, which you did have conversation about in the work group. I think that mostly concludes the the things I wanted to raise and concerns in the bill. We had some discussion earlier just about, and I understand the difference between seclusion and how it operates in solitary confinement. But I did just want to note for the record that we made the decision to ban solitary confinement for juveniles in 2023.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Senator Seeberger.
Thank you. With respect to the training provision, subdivision 5, these provisions were a consensus. As we got toward the end of the working group, members of MACE and the representative from Solutions Not Suspensions and the representative from the Disability Law Center got together and hashed out items they could agree on. That is this. They worked really hard and came up with these training items. I would be happy to include additional training items or anything else that might address concerns with regard to disparate use. Again, we couldn't land on good data on what it is that you're getting at, which we recognized was a useful metric to consider. And we did talk about the upstream problem of the disparate referral. And that was sort of a bigger issue than we could include in these recommendations. I do want to note my offense, again, to comparing schools to prisons, and solitary confinement in incarceration is not the same as seclusion in schools. Our caucus makes a big deal when the GOP says illegal aliens. It doesn't sound right to our ears. Using the word solitary confinement does not sound right to my ears, and it is offensive to me as a parent that that term is used. So if we as the DFL want to continue to harp on our GOP colleagues that if we say we find it offensive, it's offensive, I'm going to ask the same to you, that as a parent that is offensive to my ears. That comparison is not an equivalent comparison. And I would ask members of this committee to please not use that phrase in describing this practice to me.
Thank you. Senator, oh, go ahead. Did you want to respond? No? Okay. Senator Mayquade.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Seeberger, I just have a few clarifying questions. So if I look at the Minnesota report card from 2023-2024 school year, it looks like there were 1,060 physical assaults by students in special ed on staff. And then in 24-25, it looks like there were 776, so a 27% reduction. So that data that Senator Umer-Verbaten was talking about, you know, we do have it listed out. The years are a little different, but overall the total assaults have gone down and not up. Can you talk a little bit about that, if that was talked about in the working group?
Senator Seeberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Mayquade. I simply cannot recall if the report card data formed a part of our discussion, and I apologize that I can't recall that. That is, my recollection is, and I'm looking at page 12 of the report, that members, special education staff from ISD 916 testified that significant injuries have occurred when seclusion was unavailable, including bites, concussions, scratches, and broken bones. So that goes to Senator Umer-Verbaten's question as to the type of injuries and the ages. ISD 916 and 917 staff reported that in some cases seclusion is the only way to disrupt injurious behavior. That is what we heard. We also heard the data, again, contained on the top of page 12. So I can't necessarily speak to what the data you're looking at on the report card.
Senator Mayquade.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And individual stories are really important. It's how we get get specificity around numbers, but the numbers that we're seeing, in the report card, for that 5 to 10 year old range, it was 465, was the number of incidents for that age range. But then if you go to years 24 and 25, you had 253. So a pretty significant reduction in assaults in that age bracket the school year after we prohibited seclusion from birth through third grade. And so I think I think I'm having a little trouble placing myself then in the discussion if part of the reason is that assaults are going up, and I'm not discounting the experiences of the teachers, but the data is telling us that assaults are decreasing, and in particular in these age ranges that we're talking about here. And so I'm not really sure how to grapple with that when the data is telling us something different. The last question, or I have two more questions. The other question I have is on 7.31. Of the bill, a parent or guardian must be shown the seclusion room. So Dakota Ridge is a school in my district. There are 35 seclusion rooms, one for every 2.38 students. So would a parent have to be shown all of the seclusion rooms? Because there's obviously more than one that a student could be placed into.
Senator Seeberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator McQuaid. I've toured Dakota Ridge, and my answer to that would be yes, if there is the potential that any one of these rooms with a little symbol above them could be a place where a student could be taken to keep everyone safe in the course of an emergency. I was certainly shown all of those on my tour of Dakota Ridge, and I would anticipate that any parent could certainly have the same tour that I had and view these rooms.
Thank you. Senator.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Then I think the seclusion room might be not specific enough. It might want to be brought into all the potential seclusion rooms, and I think maybe even clarifying registered seclusion rooms, because I know some rooms aren't currently set up for that, but they're registered. And so, if it currently looks like a taking a break room, but it is a registered seclusion room and it can be used for that. And then the last question I have is around just a fiscal note. I am familiar with the endeavor to have new training procedures for teachers and many teachers, and so I'm wondering if we have a fiscal note for this bill.
Senator Seeberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator McQuaid. At this time, we do not. We don't know what this training would entail. If we are going to say that every district now needs to implement and train everyone and buy the supplies for UCARU, that's a cost. If we determine that there's another vetted alternative, that's a different cost. If we're looking simply at the trainings that are set forth in Section 5, that's a different cost. We need to decide what it is that we are going to be asking our districts to do. We talked a lot about the READ Act and the legislature deciding on a policy and putting money behind it to implement that policy, and the READ Act as an example of that. If we're serious about our kids with disabilities and we're serious about taking care of our special education needs, then we as a legislature have an obligation to determine what that policy is going to be and put the funding behind it like we did with the READ Act. We talked a lot about that in the working group. So the amounts right now are blank. There is no fiscal note because, number one, we don't have a vetted alternative right now to seclusion that we can as a legislature say, hey, UCARU is it. This is what we're going to do. I would like us to do that. We don't have that. And number two, understanding that this is an ongoing conversation that we need to keep continuing to have and hopefully land on a point where we have an idea of what we can implement and what we can fund to ensure that we take the best care of our students and our staff that we can.
Thank you. Finished? All right. Senator Clark, you're the last one on our list, and we have 7 minutes left if you'd like to ask your questions or share your comments.
Thank you, Chair Kunesh. Thank you, Senator Seeberger, and thank you for the leadership of the seclusion work group. You all absorbed so many stories and heard and we've heard parts of them. And so thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing your story and being a good mom to your kid to get him the best that he could do. Earlier, Senator Farnsworth was asking about emergencies. How do we define emergencies? And is it in regulation or in statute, or is it generally understood?
Senator Seeberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Maybe council can point me to, I can't cite it off the top of my head, but we do have, it's in 125A0942 or 125A0941. There is a specific definition of an emergency. I can summarize it for you while we try to find it, but it states that it's an immediate circumstance where the health or safety of a, I'm butchering it, but can we maybe
Madam Chair.
read it?
Senator Clark?
Senator Seeberger, I mostly just wanted to make sure that, you know, we've defined it, so that this is part of the conversations I've had with Senator Seeberger is help me understand this, help me understand that. And you've been very clear on it's defined here, defined there, and I realized I hadn't asked that about emergency, so I just wanted to make sure that we had a clear understanding that emergency is defined in statute. Ms. Lewis doesn't need to look it up. You could send it over to me later. All right.
Okay. Yeah,
thank you.
Maybe Ms. Lewis, if you find it, if you
Yeah.
would just send that out to us, that would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so I just wanted to highlight that piece to understand that it's clear in statute on what that is. And that was the main gist of where I was going through and listening. As Senator Limmer would say, listening carefully. This is a spot where I hadn't heard where there was a clear definition yet.
I have it.
Thank you.
Senator Seeberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Clark, it's under 125A.0941. Subdivision B, emergency means a situation where immediate intervention is needed to protect a child or other individual from physical injury. Emergency does not mean circumstances such as a child who does not respond to a task or request and instead places his or her head on a desk or hides under a desk or table, a child who does not respond to a staff person's request unless failing to respond would result in physical injury to the child or other individual, or an emergency incident that has already occurred and no threat of physical injury currently exists.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Seeberger. And the work that your group has done, especially in identifying New Caro as a possibility that Fridley has found helpful, provides many promising results. And I thank you for the work that you've done. I'm still uncomfortable with the expansion to our youngest, and that's where I'm really struggling on how do we make this work. But the work that you're doing to figure out how do we make sure that parents are fully involved and fully informed is likely providing a model that other states can follow. So thank you so much for that work, and thank you for bringing this important topic to us.
All right, with that, Senator Seeberger, any final words?
I want to thank this committee for hearing this bill. It is a topic that people have strong feelings on, and I've said this to many people in the past, but of all the issues that I work on here at the legislature, and as we know, there are bazillions, this is the one that is the hardest for me, because it's the one that I cannot separate my personal feelings from my professional feelings from. It doesn't happen very often, but this is that topic. I've worked really hard to keep those mom feelings at bay, but I can't do it. So I appreciate everyone's indulgence, and I apologize for the times when I lose my composure. That's the reason why. This is personal to me, and it hits me right where I live as a mother, because it's my life experience. So thank you for hearing this bill. Please know that I will continue my work on this, and I look forward to continuing our conversation on this important topic next session.
Thank you, Senator. So once again, Senate File 4677 is laid over for possible inclusion. Members, tomorrow we will have the markup on the omnibus bill. If you have any amendments
anybody have any amendments, please let me know ahead of time so that I can give it serious consideration. I don't do amendments on the fly very well, and so certainly appreciate those amendments ahead of time. It is 10:29, and we are adjourned.